Good morning, Keith. Yeah, that's right. We also know that a doctor will be joining Connecticut State Police for this safety demo that's happening at 10 this morning in Meriden. They'll also be talking about some of the injuries associated with fireworks. They just want to make sure that folks are safe. We've been talking about illegal fireworks for quite a couple of weeks. A lot of cities and towns trying to tackle this issue. But here in Connecticut, what fireworks are legal? We're talking about fountains and sparklers, but we've also been hearing the big booms overnight and also into the early morning. So we know that this has been happening not just in Hartford. We've been getting reports in New Britain, Wethersfield, Stratford, Hamden, just to mention a few cities and towns that are trying to crack down on this. And just a couple of days, we did get an update from Mayor Luke Bronin talking about the issues and how they're trying to tackle it in Hartford.
Making it impossible for seniors to sleep, for kids and babies to sleep, veterans with PTSD, pets that are going crazy, and they're dangerous. A 17-month-old baby was burned just a few days ago.
And we also know that 2 tip lines have been set up for people to report illegal fireworks in Hartford. So we do have those 2 numbers on our website. I also want to talk about a seizure that Hartford police made yesterday. This was along Albany Avenue. This is not the first one they've made this week. I believe this might be the second one. So not just Hartford, but also multiple cities and towns trying to crack down on the illegal fireworks that are being found across Connecticut. For now, we're live in Meriden. Lisette Nunez, Fox 61 News.